Hi everyone, my name's Mark Ferraretto. I'm a senior lecturer in the College of Business, Government and Law. Today I'm going to take you through using some software to improve your AGLC and particularly your citations. So let's buckle down and get into an hour or so of pure AGLC goodness. What I'm going to take you through in this video should improve your AGLC by a lot, I think. It's going to make your AGLC better, and it's also going to save you a stack of time. What I'm going to do is take you through using some citation software to help you manage your AGLC citations. And that's because, in my view, it's the 21st century, people, and we shouldn't be writing citations manually anymore. There is software out there that will do this for you. It's more accurate, it's quicker, and we should be using it. So that said, let's get into things. So first of all, there are a couple of software packages on the market that can help you. The two major players are Zotero, which is what we're going to cover today, and EndNote. Now, EndNote is a commercial package. You normally need to pay a fee for it, but you can get it for free while you're studying at Flinders, and there'll be a link up on the video that you can click on if you would like to use EndNote. EndNote is fine, it's just as capable as Zotero. The setup is different, but it ends up doing the same thing. I have used EndNote, and I've used Zotero, and I've used another package as well. I prefer Zotero, which is why I'm taking you through Zotero in this video. Also, Zotero will run on Windows and PCs. It will run on Linux computers, and congratulations to you if you're using Linux. Apparently, Zotero even has an iPad and an iPhone app. I don't actually know how those work because I don't have an iPad or an iPhone, but apparently it's out there. So what I'm going to take you through though is using Zotero on a Windows PC, and the reason I'm doing that is because I have a Windows PC. And I'm going to walk you through the whole thing end to end. So we're going to download it, we're going to install it, and we are then going to add some cases and statutes and websites and stuff to it, and then we're going to cite them in a Word document. So we're going to do that whole thing end to end. So that's what you've got to look forward to in this video. So before we start that though, I just want to cover off a couple of things. First of all is Zotero will help you, but you still need to know AGLC. And in fact, I recommend to my students when I'm talking about AGLC is that you actually take the AGLC and you read through the first 3 sections of it from beginning to end. It's not that long. I think it's about 60 pages or so, 60 A5 pages, so it's not very long. And it will take you through everything from how to do punctuations, how to do quotations, how to do format dates and numbers and stuff correctly, because Zotero is not going to help you with any of that. It will also show you how to cite cases correctly and how to cite legislation correctly and journal articles and the like correctly. So just those first 3 sections, I think, are well worth spending an hour or 2 of your time reading it from beginning to end. So Zotero is not going to fix everything. It's a tool, it will help you, but it's not going to fix everything. Related to that, just remember, you're responsible for AGLC in your papers. So if you do use Zotero and you still don't get a good mark, it's not enough for you to come back to us and say, well, but I use Zotero. It's not going to solve everything for you, and ultimately the responsibility for your paper rests with you and not with the software. So keep that in mind. So with that said, let's get underway and let's install Zotero. So first of all, let's bring up a browser window, and in here we'll go to zotero.org, and this is the Zotero homepage. Click on the download button here and we'll be taken to this page here. I'm running on a PC, as I said, so I'm going to install it on Windows. You'll get a Zotero for Mac install square here. So let's click on download. And once the software has downloaded, let's run it. and let's let it do its thing. As we run through it, we'll just accept all of the default prompts. Well, there is only one, just this one here. So let's accept that and then install. And we'll launch Zotero now so we can have a look at it. And now Zotero is installed. So this is what we get. We're not quite there yet, because what we also need to do is configure Zotero to use AGLC, and we also need to set some preferences. So let's do that now. So the first thing we do is we go to Edit and then Settings, and then we select Cite here. So the first thing, actually before we get to the AGLC part, let's scroll down this setting here. And what you want to do is make sure that the Microsoft Word add-in is installed. So just make sure that that is set up. And then if it's not, just click on this button to reinstall it. So we've got it installed, so that's all fine. LibreOffice, for those of you who use LibreOffice or OpenOffice, which is a free version of Microsoft Word and the like, then you can use the add-in for that as well. We won't be doing that. We're only going to use Microsoft Word. The other thing that we want to select here is to use the classic Add Citation dialog. So Zotero has a new abbreviated Add Citation dialog, but it doesn't have a lot of the information that we need in it, particularly when it comes to pinpoints. So we're going to use the classic one. So once we've done that, let's scroll up here, and you can see here that these are all the different citations that are available when you install Zotero. And you will also notice that AGLC is not in this list. So we need to download AGLC and put it in here. So if we click on Get Additional Styles, and that will bring up this search box here. We'll just let it do its thing for a minute. And in the title search up here, just type in AGLC. And you'll see here that we get AGLC 3 and AGLC 4. Just click on the link for AGLC 4. There we go. And you can see now we have it installed in our Zotero, which is what we want. So that gets Zotero set up pretty much how we want it. Now that we've done that, we can close the settings and we are now good to go. So the next step then in using Zotero is to add some sources that we want to cite. So I'm going to add in a few example sources now. I'm going to add in a few cases and a statute and some other sources, and then we will cite them. So let's work through these one by one. I'm going to start off first of all by adding a reported decision. So this is a decision that appears in the CLR reports or the ALR reports. So in order to add any source, what we do is we go up to this button here. It says New Item, and we select an item from this list. Now, because we want to add a case, we will select Case. And you can see now on the right side of the window, it comes up with a whole stack of data fields for us to complete. Now, we don't need to complete all of these for an AGLC citation, but there are a set number that we do need to complete. So let's work through those. I'm going to add here the Commercial Bank of Australia and Articlle. So all contract law students will know this case. Commercial Bank of Australia and Articlle. So I put the name of the case here. Now we don't need the author or the court, but we do need in here the date decided, and this is where we put the year of the case. So in our case, this case was decided in 1983. And then we need the reporter. The reporter is the name of the volume. So in our case, this is the CLR. The reporter volume for Articlle was 151, and the first page in that report volume where the case appears is 447, page 447. And that's all we need to fill out, and that will make for us the Articlle citation. So maybe let's start off by giving that a go. So let's go to Microsoft Word, So here is my Word window, so I'm going to open up a blank document. Now, because I have installed Zotero, you will see in the toolbar up here in Word that there is a Zotero toolbar now. So if we click on that, we have buttons here to add citations, add bibliographies, and to do other things. So what we want to do is that we want to add a citation about the Articlle case. So I'm just going to make this a bit bigger, and let's say Articlle, a central case, case about contract law. And I now want to add a citation here. So I go to add edit citation. Now, because this is the first time I'm adding a citation to this document, it asks me which citation standard do I want to use, and I'm going to select AGLC 4. We shouldn't need to change any of these other settings down below here. We just click on OK, and now we get given our source selection dialog box, and you can see here we've only got one source. I can make this a bit bigger. I've only got one source here, which is Articlle, so I click on that and I say OK. And it has now added a footnote here, as you can see, and if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, there is our AGLC citation. And you can see it's taken all of the different fields. If I just put this off to one side and I put my Articlle citation over here, so you can see that it's taken each of these fields and it's used it to construct the correct citation for a reported decision. So while we're here, let's say that we want to cite this case again. And I'm going to add a citation and I'm going to insert Articlle again. So let's click on OK. And so let's see what Zotero does for us. There you go. It has changed the second citation from the full citation to an IBID because it's a subsequent reference in accordance with the AGLC. So this is where the value of Zotero really starts to shine through. And just because we're having some fun, let me add another footnote. So I'm not going to use Zotero now. I'm just going to insert a regular footnote. I can't remember how to do this with the ribbon. I just insert my regular footnote this way. Sorry, using the keyboard shortcuts. I don't know how to do it using the ribbon. So here's a regular footnote without Zotero. Without Zotero, I should say. And let's go and let's just click out of there. So now you'll see we have a potential problem here because we have an IBID now referring to this second footnote. That's incorrect. But if we go to our Zotero toolbar and we click on refresh, you can see now it's changed the IBID to the appropriate subsequent reference. So again, this is really where Zotero can help you with your citations. Okay, let's add a case with a medium neutral citation. So first thing we do is create a new item. We're going to create a case, and I have here Delaforce and Simpson Cook, and this case was decided in 2010, and we put the court in the reporter field. So in this case it's the New South Wales Court of Appeal, and the case number we put in the first page column like that. So now we have our source. So let's add a new paragraph here, and let's add that citation by going to add citation, Delaforce and Simpson Cook, click on OK, and if we scroll down to the bottom here, you can see it has a properly formatted medium neutral citation for us. Okay, next let's cite a case with a short name. So especially for constitutional law students, you're always getting Commonwealth and Tasmania and Commonwealth and New South Wales and the like, and we always need to have a more descriptive name attached to the case so that we can understand which case it is. So let's, because the answer to everything in constitutional law is this case, let's cite the Tasmanian Dams case. So let's again cite a case, a new item and then a case, and this is the Commonwealth and Tasmania. And just like before, this is a reported decision, so like we put the date decided into here, into date, the date it was decided into here, so the date of the volume I should say. Into here we put the reporting, the report into here, so it's the Commonwealth Law Reports. The volume in this case is 158, and the page number is 1, so that would give us a regular reported decision citation. But what we'll also do here is we'll put in here Tasmanian Dams case in the short title, and let's cite that. So same thing, go to add, edit citation, and let's cite, here's our Commonwealth and Tasmania, and we put that in there. And you'll see now that in our footnote we have Tasmanian Dams case. So just like before, let's cite something else. So let's just add in another Delaforce citation for good measure. So now you can see we've got again the appropriate end reference to the previous case. Now let's cite Tasmanian Dams again. And you'll see that what it will do this time is that it will use the appropriate short name in the reference. Okay, so that is a case with a short name attached to it, and in fact that short name will work for any source. So it'll work for cases, statutes if you wanted to use it there, journal articles, and so on and so on. Let's move on then, and let's cite some statutes. So again, we go back into our Zotero here, and in Zotero we go new item, and this time we're going to cite an act. You'll see that there's no act up here, but if we scroll down, there is a statute, and that's what we use when we cite acts. So add that in there, and let's cite the Fences Act because it's nice and short to type. So the name of the act goes here. The state goes into the code field, and the date enacted is the year that we want. So in our case, it's 1936. So that's pretty simple. Just the name here, the code here, the jurisdiction goes here, and the date here. And then let's cite the act here. And go add, edit citation, and there is our Fences Act there. Let's add that in, and if we scroll down here, we can see a properly formatted AGLC citation for an act. Let's just try for fun, just try another act. So if we go back here, let's select statute again. Let's do the Privacy Act this time. This is a Commonwealth Act. Let's do the Privacy Act. The code this time will be Commonwealth, and the date enacted was 1988 for that act. And let's cite the Privacy Act and add the citation here. Select Privacy Act, and there we go. Okay, so pretty simple to cite legislation. What about a bill, you say? Well, let's cite a bill then. Let's cite a bill. So let's add a bill, and I have in my notes here the aged care bill from this year. So let's just add, this time we do have an entry for a bill, so we'll select that. Similar to an act, we put the name here. We put the jurisdiction into code like before, and we put the date enacted. Well, it hasn't been enacted yet. We just put the date of the bill to here in date, and that's pretty much it. And now we can cite our aged care bill, and there you go, it's been cited and formatted in not italics, which is the AGLC way of citing a bill. All right, let's move on to some other sources then. Let's do a book next. So here's a good book, especially for the constitutional lawyers among us. It's Blackshield and Williams. So let's we've got a book here. So this has a rather long title. This is Blackshield and Williams, Australian Constitutional Law and Theory. And now we're going to put, this has 3 authors in them, so what we'll do is we'll put here the last name. The first one is George Williams, so we'll put last name first and then George. Then we use the plus and we can add another author, and it's Sean Brennan. And let's add another author, and that will be Andrew Lynch. So you see how we're doing the last names first, as it's telling us to do. And Andrew Lynch, so they are the authors of the book. So now this book is published by Federation Press, so we'll put that in here. And it was published in 2018, and it was the 7th edition. That's the edition that I'm referring to. So there we go. So now we have a citation for a book. And so what I'll do is let's cite this book. And again, go add citation. Let's find Blackshield and Williams. Here it is, and put it in. And there we go. Now, what we can do now is let's cite something else again. And let's just put in Tasmanian Dams, always a good one. And then let's cite Blackshield and Williams again. And you will see here that it has properly cited the book using the author's names. Okay, let's move on to a journal article. So if I look at my notes here, again, I'm drawing on a lot of constitutional resources, but it all works the same way anyway. So we go into here, and there will be somewhere along this list a journal article. So we cite that, and this article is called Rethinking the Federal Balance, How Federal Theory Supports States' Rights. And this was written by Michelle Evans. And this was published in the West Australian Jurist. It was in volume 1 on page 14, and the date was published is 2010. So that is our entry in Zotero, and once again, let's cite this journal. And here it is, Rethinking the Federal Balance. Put that in there, and then you'll see here it is properly formatted as a journal article. Okay, so next let's cite a web page. The Zotero Connector that I mentioned earlier on in the video will help you do this, but for starters, let's see how to do it manually, and we'll come back to that connector later. So I'm going to add here, and if I scroll down, there should be, here is one of the idiosyncrasies of working with Zotero. if I select a new item here, you'll see that there is no entry here for a web page. However, if you have a look at the item type here, you'll see that there is down the bottom an entry for a web page. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add an empty item, I don't care what kind it is, and then I'm going to go into here and I'm going to select web page from the bottom there. And then I will give this web page the title. And the date of the article, which in this case is 18th of March 2015. And the URL, I'm just going to copy this across. So that's the article. You can see here Zotero's correctly guessed the date and the time that I accessed it. Well, let's add today's date and time. So that would be the 9th of January 2025 at, let's say, here we go, at 1:12 p.m. So now that I've done that, I can cite that web page here. So let's go into here, let's cite the web page, and if I go to add edit citation, there's our web page. We'll cite that, and once again it has been cited as an AGLC compliant web page. Now you'll see I have a spelling error in here, so now that I've got a spelling error in my citation, I don't want to fix it up here. I go back to my entry here, correct it, go back to Zotero, click on refresh I should say, and there you can see now it's been corrected. So that's the web page. What else have we got? Encyclopedia article, I think, is the last one I've got for examples of articles. So let's go and do that. Let's add an encyclopedia article. So go new, and I know we do have one of these, so there we go, encyclopedia article there. This is called the General Nature and Principles of Estoppel, and it comes from Halsbury's Laws of Australia, very useful resource. The publisher is LexisNexis Butterworths. The date this article was published was then, and the page reference is this. So there's my encyclopedia article, and now if I add a citation here, and we know this drill now, general principles, there it is, and once again it gets cited here as a proper encyclopedia, AGLC compliant encyclopedia article. So you can see what I've taken you through is the common resources that we use for most of the academic papers that you will write as a student, at least. There are many other different types of resources here. This list is not exhaustive, so there are more different sources cited in AGLC than what there are in this list. If you end up not being able to find something on this list, you basically have two choices. One is to find one that's as close as possible, and then to muck around with the different fields here until you get the AGLC compliant format. The other is simply to cite it manually, so to put a manual footnote into your paper. Okay, so now let's talk about pinpoint references. So we've done a lot of work here citing sources, but as you can see, none of them have pinpoint references. So now we want to start adding some pinpoint references, and we will do that by let's look at a whole number of different kinds of references. So let's go back to Commonwealth and Tasmania, the Tasmanian Dams case, and we want to cite a particular page in that case. So let's put here this time we're going to bring up the Tasmanian Dams case, but this time we want to cite a particular page. So let's say page 55. So you can see here I have this area down in my citation dialog is where I put my pinpoint. So I have a whole number of different kinds of pinpoint references that I can use. This time I want a page. Let's say I want to cite pages 55 to 57. I just simply type in 55 to 57 here. And then if I click on OK, my new citation now will have a properly cited pinpoint reference. So if we want to cite a paragraph in a medium neutral case, so let's go to Delaforce. So from this case, let's say that I want to cite paragraph 12. What I do is I select the case, and from here I select paragraph, and then in here I have to put an AGLC formatted paragraph. So paragraphs, as you know, as hopefully you know, should be surrounded by square brackets. So I'm going to cite paragraph 14, and I have to cite it in square brackets like that. If I click on OK, I will get my citation with my paragraph here. If you're citing a section in legislation, let's do that. So let's cite from the Fences Act. Oops. And we want to cite section 3 from the Fences Act. So we find the Fences Act. Now we select section from here. And here we have to type S3. So that's the pinpoint reference. And there it is. Okay, so you can see likewise, let's add, if you have like a regulation, so like if we cite a statute, so let's say like we want to add regulations, we find our statute here, and I'm going to add the Civil Aviation Safety Regulations, and they are Commonwealth legislation, and I'm doing this from memory, but I'm pretty sure they're 2019. So that's the Civil Aviation Safety Regulations, and if I want to cite those, then I find them in my list. There they are, and this time I use section like I did before. So there's no regulation citation here, we just use section because it's a statute, and this time we use regulation 61.505, say. And again, there we go. So that's how you can manage pinpoints. Same way that if we want to cite the, let's say like the Civil Aviation Regulations again with a different pinpoint. And this time we go here section, and we say this time we want 61.435, say, and it will do the IBID citation for us. So that is pinpoints. So there are a couple of other things that you can do. You might want to have some text in front of a citation instead of just citing it like this. Like you might, when I write my papers quite a number of times, I usually put C, for example, you know, like Fences Act, blah blah blah. So if we want to do that, let's actually edit this existing citation. So if we click on this citation, we can now click Edit Citation, and it will bring up the citation that we currently have. So you can see it's selected Fences Act and it's selected section 3. So I just want to put in front of this, I want to put CEG. So I'll just put CEG like that. and then you can see it will modify the citation. So you don't add it to the footnote yourself. The best way to do it is to add it to the citation. Similarly, if we go and find the Tasmanian Dams case, for example, and let's edit that, and we might want to put here per a particular judge. So I'm not sure which judge it is, but let's say, like, we might say it was Justice Brennan, say. So we would put that in the suffix. Okay, and then when we do that, then you can see like it gets added to the end of the citation. So another thing you might want to do is you might want to cite multiple sources at the same time, or like in the same reference. So, and there are a couple of ways that you might want to do that. One might be that you just simply have a whole stack of sources that you want to cite. So let's do that. So let's have multiple sources in a citation. So that's reasonably straightforward to do. We go to Add Edit Citation, and this time we select multiple sources. It gives us this new box on the left, and we add into here, let's say the textbook, and let's say a case, and just for fun, let's put in an act. And so what it will do, it will add these and it will format them using semicolons according to AGLC. So that's one thing that you might want to do. The other thing is that a lot of times you are citing a case which is cited from a textbook. So in that case, what you want to put, for example, is that you might want to put, say, Blackshield and Williams citing the Tasmanian Dams case. So that's a little bit more complicated in Zotero, but it's still possible to do. So once again, we go into here, we select multiple sources. So the first thing we're going to cite is Blackshield and Williams. So we will add that to our multiple sources. And then the second item that we're going to cite is Tasmanian Dams case, so we put that in here as well. So now that we have that, and we might need like a page number here, so it might be 543, and let's say like we're citing Tasmanian Dams page 345. So we have pinpoint references here, but what we want to do is we want to say, let's actually cite this first, and then we'll see what we can do with it. So you can see like it's cited the first one and it's cited the second one, but it's just got that semicolon there, and we don't want that. We want the word citing there. So if we click on this citation and we edit it, we go into the editor now, and in the editor you can see that we actually have what the citation will look like when it's cited in our footnote. We can go in here, we can edit the get rid of the semicolon and add in the word citing, and now we have the citation that we want. So that's how you can deal with multiple citations. Okay, I was talking to you before about citing websites and other resources using the Zotero Connector. So let's go and have a look at that connector, because that can help us add sources to our Zotero database. So if we go back to here, and I'm running Firefox, so I'm going to click on Install Firefox Connector. If you're running Google Chrome, you'll have one to install a Google Chrome extension. So I'm just going to add that through here. So now I have a connector here, and it's telling me I've installed it. Congratulations to me. What that does is that when you are at a web page like I am here, if you click on this, it will automatically add the current web page to your database, and it will do its best to work out what the metadata for the web page is. Now, because I've clicked on it now, it's actually added this web page to my database. So if I go to Zotero, whoopsies. So if I go to Zotero, you will see here I have a new web page called Zotero, your personal research assistant. This is all fine. What you need to be careful with here is the metadata, because the title of the web page and some of the other data here, may not always be correct. The URL always will be, the access date always will be. It may not pick up the date that the web page was created, because some web pages simply just don't have a publication date, including this one, for example. So we would just have to leave that out. But there would be other ones that might. This tool is really useful when, for example, you're looking up Wikipedia articles or news articles. For example, if I go to ABC News and let's find an article here, and if I want to cite this article in my bibliography, you can see the icon here has changed a little bit. I can click on this and it's added this article to the to Zotero, and here it is, and it's actually worked out that it thinks that it's a newspaper article, so you can cite it as a newspaper article. But you might need to change that back in some cases to a web page. Okay, so if we go to Wikipedia and let's cite, say, Tasmanian dams, because that's the theme, and it's worked out that it's some form of encyclopedia, but I wouldn't be citing a Wikipedia article as an encyclopedia article because it's not really. Like, I would cite Wikipedia as a web page. So I would, first of all, I'd have to go in here and change this to be a web page, and that's all fine. And the second thing is, you can see that you've got these funny tags in here because the title is in italics. It's got to do with how titles are formatted on the internet, and we don't want those either, so we've got to get rid of those as well. So you can see, like, when you're citing a website, sometimes you need to do a little bit of work. The URL will always be correct, and in this case the Wikipedia page has the creation date, or at least like the last date that it was modified here. If you go to a resource like AustLII, if we go to, say, like this case here, Zotero might be smart enough to work out that it's a case, and it thinks that it is. Okay, so again, if I add this is Fuller and Lawrence, and I go to here, and now you can see it's worked out and it's filled in what it thinks the correct resources are. But if I cite this, you'll see that that's not going to work. So I'm going to cite Fuller and Lawrence here. And you'll see, because it's from AustLII, it's a medium neutral citation, and the citation should be this. Okay, Fuller and Lawrence 2024 HCA 45. That's what it should look like. So if we go to our Word document, you will see that, oh, actually it's correct. So there you go. Just ignore what I said. So that's fine. So it's going to reproduce stuff from AustLII faithfully. It doesn't always do that. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. AustLII looks like it works. Westlaw, Lexis, the Lexis tools, they don't always work. And what you don't want to, you do not want to be in a situation where you're citing a case, but then having it cited as a web page in your footnotes, because you will lose marks for that. So you need to keep an eye out for that. That said, however, you can see that this tool is actually pretty useful. Like, as you're going through and doing research, you can find articles, you can just click on here and they will get dumped into your Zotero database for you. Another useful thing about Zotero is the ability to organize your citations into what it calls collections, but they're basically folders. This is useful so that you could group together your citations for your different assignments together. This is really easy to do. All you do is you go into here where it says My Library, right click, select a new collection, because we're on the theme. Call it something, add it to my library. Now I have a collection. So what I can do now is that I can drag all my constitutional law references into here. That's not constitutional. This one was. and this one was, and you can see now that I've been able to separate out my constitutional law citations from here into its own collection. If I click on my library, I get absolutely everything, but if I click on my folder, then I can get just what's relevant to my assignment. What's also useful with this is that if you have Zotero open and you select a particular folder or a particular collection, then if we go to AustLII and we, for example, and we cite, let's look up Banerjee, say, here we go. This is another constitutional case. So if we go to Comcare and Banerjee, just let AustLII bring that up. While AustLII's doing that, you can see in Zotero I have my constitutional law folder selected. So now if I add this page, it's been added to my correct library, the library that I want. And in fact, if I was wrong here, I could just simply select a different library from here. Incidentally, this has been added as a web page. If we go back into Zotero, we can see here Comcare and Banerjee appears as a web page. So you can see like AustLII doesn't always get it correct. And so we'd then have to go through here, go to case, and then put the HCA here. The case number is 23. The year is 2019. And then we'd have to edit this and get rid of all of that. Okay, and then just leave it as that. We can keep the URL there, that's all fine, like, because that's not going to make its way into the citation. Now that I've done that, if I go back here and I cite Banerjee and I edit it, and there we go, it's cited Banerjee for me. A couple more things to cover. The next is bibliographies. Zotero will help you generate a bibliography. It gets you about 80% of the way there. Zotero knows what you've cited in your document, and it will generate a list of sources in your document, and it will organize them in an AGLC compliant way. What Zotero won't do is it won't put the headings in each category that's required by AGLC. So let's make a bibliography. Normally what I would do in a Word document is I would insert a new page, and then I'll have a bibliography here. And then I go to Zotero and I go add edit bibliography, and you can see what it's done here is that it's added all of my sources, but you'll notice that the journal articles and the books come first, the cases come second, the legislation comes third, and other materials come last. So it hasn't put the headings in there, but it has organized your bibliography how you want it. Then what you can do is that you can go in here and you can start by putting a report. So I can put a heading in here, and then I can go here. The text turns gray because Zotero is managing the text, but I can still edit it, and I can put here B cases, and then I can put in here C legislation, and then I can put in here D other. I can do that, and now I have an AGLC formatted bibliography. And in fact, if I save this, if I submit this as a Word document, it will be displayed just like this. Another thing to be aware of in this bibliography is that it's smart enough to organize everything in alphabetical order, firstly. Secondly, the author names, as you may know, in a bibliography, the author names must be displayed with last name first. whereas when you're citing a source in a footnote, you cite first name first. Okay, so you can see here, here's our Blackshield and Williams citation. We've got George Williams, Sean Brennan, and so on. In the bibliography, it's meant to be like this. It's meant to be last name first, exactly as it has done here. Zotero has looked after all of that for you. The only caveat with using this bibliography is that if you go through now and add some additional citations, and I might do that, I can type. So let's cite the Wikipedia article. That which should be in the main library, I think. Where was it? It was this one. If I cite that now, you will see that it appears here as it should, and it also gets added to your bibliography as it's done here, but you'll see that all of the headings have gone. And what you're going to have to do then is add all your headings back in. That's just part of using Zotero, and that's because like all of this grey text here, when you click on it, it's all text that is managed by Zotero. So once you make a change, it overwrites what you've written in there manually. My recommendation to you would be to do your bibliography at the very end, just before you're about to submit your final draft. Just go into here, add your bibliography, add your headings in. It takes you 2 minutes and that's it. You don't need to do it any time before that. Okay, so one last thing, and that is that Zotero has a synchronization feature where you can store your bibliography and store your Zotero database in the cloud and then take it with you from computer to computer. So this is especially useful if you're going to use Zotero like on a university computer and also on your personal computer, and also if you want to use it on your iPad, this is really essential. So if you go to Edit and then Settings, there is a Sync option here, and you can go through and create an account through here. That will take you to the Zotero website, and you just walk through the usual registration process. Once you've got your username and password, then you can then add them into here, and I might just add my existing account into here. Normally I would turn all of these on, but I'm not going to right now because just in case it ruins my library. And then I'll just get out of that. So now I can synchronize. Now I've been using Zotero for many, many years. So what should happen now, and it hasn't, I was afraid of that. So I was going to say what should have happened is that all of my data should have come down. Here we go. Just have to synchronize it. And so this is just an example of how you can use Zotero. So you can see like that I've just organized everything by different projects as I've done my assessments when I was a student, like when I was at work, like now my current role, and so on. And I have a list of everything that I've used, and I can bring it around from my desktop computer, which is what I'm using for this video, to my laptop, to an iPad if I had one, to my work laptop, and so on. So it's really, I find that very, very convenient. I strongly recommend that you do that. Go to Edit, Settings, and then Sync. Once that is set up and you know it's not going to overwrite what you think, then you can go through and turn all this on, and then it will just work. That brings me pretty much to the end of this video. I trust that you will find this a very useful tool. I highly recommend that you use this software or software like it at a bare minimum. As I said to you, it's not perfect. It doesn't cater for all of the different kinds of documents that can be used. If you're using the connector, you need to be very careful. As you saw, like this came in as a web page instead of a case. Sometimes the text in here comes in all caps, and then you have to retype it into mixed case. So you need to be watchful for those kinds of things. It's not going to cure all of your AGLC ills, like you might still cite your footnotes in the wrong places. You might still use incorrectly formatted dates and punctuation and so on, but it will go a long way to helping you have really good footnotes and a properly formatted bibliography. Okay, that's all we'll cover in this video. If you're still awake, congratulations. I hope you can see now how much easier it is to manage your citations and your biblio with software. Like I said, it doesn't need to be Zotero, but I use it and I find it's okay. It's not perfect, but no software is. Overall though, you come out in front. For what it's worth, I never type in footnotes manually. I've always been using software. Before we wind up, I'll place a link to a quick reference document that you can download. The link will appear somewhere in this video, and I'll also put a link in the description of the YouTube version of the video as well. Feel free to contact me at any time. A link to my contact details is about to pop up on the screen as well. For the YouTube version, I will put that in the description as well. And you can email me or ping me on Teams at any time. I hope you found this video useful. I'm always happy to receive feedback about it. You can contact me, you've got my details now, or for the YouTube version, just leave a comment down below. Thanks for your time, everybody. Bye. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe.